Welcome to the AI Church Assistant channel. Today we are delving into one of the most unsettling and debated stories in the Bible, God's command to Abraham to sacrifice his son, Isaac. This episode is titled, Did God Really Want Abraham to Sacrifice Isaac? The Untold Story. We'll uncover the deeper meaning behind this perplexing and powerful moment. The story of Abraham and Isaac, a test of faith. The story, found in Genesis 22, begins with God commanding Abraham to take his beloved son Isaac, travel to the land of Moriah, and offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain. Abraham obeys without hesitation, taking Isaac on a 3-day journey to the designated spot. Just as Abraham is about to sacrifice Isaac, God intervenes, stopping him and providing a ram to be sacrificed instead. For many, this story raises difficult questions. Why would a loving God ask such a horrific thing? Was God testing Abraham's faith, or is there a deeper, untold story behind this disturbing command? Traditional interpretation, a test of ultimate obedience. The most common interpretation of this story is that it was a divine test of Abraham's faith. By asking Abraham to sacrifice his son, God was testing the patriarch's absolute trust and obedience. Isaac, after all, represented the fulfillment of God's promise that Abraham would father a great nation. For Abraham to be asked to give up the son through whom God's covenant would be realized was a test of staggering proportions. Abraham's willingness to obey, even in this unimaginable request, is often seen as the ultimate act of faith. But even so, this traditional view leaves us with an unsettling picture. Why would God need to test someone in such a painful way? Uncovering the deeper meaning, the cultural context. To fully grasp the meaning behind this story, we need to understand its ancient Near Eastern context. Human sacrifice, though rare, was not unheard of in the cultures surrounding ancient Israel. Some scholars believe that God's command to sacrifice Isaac may have resonated with Abraham because it mirrored the practices of other religions at the time, where child sacrifice was occasionally seen as the ultimate act of devotion to a deity. By commanding Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, God may have been testing whether Abraham was truly devoted. However, by stopping Abraham at the last moment, God reveals that he does not, in fact, desire human sacrifice. This was a radical statement in the ancient world. While other gods demanded human sacrifices, the God of Israel did not. This story becomes a powerful revelation of God's character, one who values life and mercy over death. Isaac as a symbol of promise and surrender. Isaac wasn't just any child. He was the promised child, the long-awaited son of Abraham and Sarah, through whom the nations would be blessed. For Abraham to sacrifice Isaac would mean surrendering the very promise of God. In this light, the test becomes more profound. God was asking Abraham to release control and trust that even if Isaac was taken away, God's promises would not fail. This symbolic surrender of Isaac represents a key theme in the Bible: faith in God's promises, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice Isaac mirrors the deep spiritual truth that faith sometimes involves letting go of what we hold most dear, trusting that God's plan is greater than what we can understand. The ram as a foreshadowing of redemption. When God provides the ram as a substitute for Isaac, it's not just an act of mercy, but also a foreshadowing of a greater redemption story. The ram represents a substitutionary sacrifice, a theme that would later be fulfilled in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Just as the ram takes Isaac's place, Christ is seen as the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. This story of substitution is crucial to understanding the deeper meaning of the Abraham and Isaac narrative. God's command to sacrifice Isaac ultimately points forward to his own willingness to give up his son Jesus for the redemption of humanity. In this way, the story of Isaac's near sacrifice becomes a prophetic image of God's love and the ultimate sacrifice to come. God's ultimate purpose, a covenant of faith. So, did God really want Abraham to sacrifice Isaac? In one sense, yes. He wanted to test Abraham's faith and obedience. But in another, deeper sense, God did not desire Isaac's death. His purpose was to establish a covenant of faith, showing that the promises of God can be trusted even when they seem impossible. Through this story, we learn that God doesn't delight in death or sacrifice, but rather in faith and trust. Abraham's faith was tested, and through it, we are shown that God's ways often challenge human understanding, yet his plans are always for the good of his people. Click the link in the description to create your own biblical content using our AI Church Assistant tools.